All right, let's kick off another deep dive. Today we're looking at EMS Ltd's Q2 FY25 results. And
Good.
we've got some great sources to work with.
Yep.
Their investor presentation,
Oh, yeah.
the press release, even the independent auditor's report.
Good.
We're not just going to be looking at the numbers, though.
Oh.
We want to see what they tell us about EMS's strategy going forward and maybe even their future.
You know what strikes me is how EMS describes themselves.
Hmm.
They call themselves a multidisciplinary EPC player.
Uh-huh.
At first, that sounds like,
Total jargon.
yeah, total corporate jargon, right?
Yeah.
But it hints at a much wider scope.
Okay, so it's not just fluff.
No.
No.
It's a clue.
It's a clue. And what's this EPC all about?
Yeah, break it down for us.
So ETC stands for Engineering, Procurement, and Construction.
Ah, okay.
So EMS Ltd isn't just designing their projects. They're really involved in every single step,
Wow.
from getting the materials to actually building.
Hmm.
And they're ISO certified.
Oh, so we know they're serious about quality.
So they're not cutting corners.
No, not at all.
All right, so what are they actually building then?
Well,
The investor presentation seems to really focus on water and wastewater treatment.
yeah.
Is that just good business, or is there something more to it?
I mean, it is definitely smart business, especially in India.
Right.
Their presentation actually highlights a very concerning statistic.
Okay.
By 2030,
Yeah.
India is projected to have a 50% gap between their water needs and the supply they have.
A 50% gap.
50%, that's a huge problem.
Wow.
And it seems like EMS is really trying to tackle that.
That's massive. And they also mentioned something about 2 million people being affected by contaminated groundwater.
Right.
It really makes you think about the impact of this work,
Absolutely.
It's not just about pipes and pumps, it's about people's lives.
It is. And EMS is taking advantage of the government initiatives that are addressing this.
Right.
Like the Jal Jeevan mission, bringing safe drinking water to rural households, and the Namami Gange program to clean up the Ganges River.
Uh-huh.
These aren't just like trendy names. They're massive projects
Huge.
with a lot of potential for a company like EMS.
Okay, so we've got this company stepping up to this major challenge.
Yeah.
And they're lining themselves up with these big government initiatives.
Hmm.
Sounds promising, but they're not just a water company, are they?
You got it.
What other business segments do they have?
So they're also involved in electrical transmission and distribution. We often call that T&D.
T&D, got it.
And building construction as well.
So they're diversifying, spreading the risk.
Exactly.
But is there really opportunity in those areas?
Oh, there's huge potential,
Really?
especially in the electric T&D market.
Okay.
Think about it. India's population is growing. They're developing.
Mm-hmm.
Their demand for energy is just skyrocketing.
Makes sense.
Someone has to build the infrastructure to keep up with that.
Yeah.
And EMS seems ready to step in. Remember, they describe their business model as scalable and asset light.
I do, yeah.
So they can take on these bigger projects
Right.
without needing huge investments up front.
Okay, so they're nimble, they're strategic, they're tackling a crucial need.
Yeah.
But let's get to the nitty-gritty.
Okay.
What did their Q2 FY25 financials actually look like? We've got the numbers.
Yeah.
But what's the story they're telling?
Well, at first glance,
Yeah.
both their standalone and consolidated profit after tax, or PT, saw some big
The
jump.
profits are up. That's got to be good, right?
It is good,
Yeah.
but it's not quite that straightforward. So standalone performance, meaning just the core EMS business,
Uh-huh.
that's strong.
Okay.
But the consolidated revenue growth, which includes all their subsidiaries,
Yeah.
was actually pretty modest.
Interesting.
Makes you wonder, are some of the subsidiaries actually holding them back?
Ooh, that's a good point.
Yeah,
So you can't just take the numbers at face value. You got to dig a little deeper.
exactly.
Speaking of digging deeper, there was something in the auditor's report that caught my eye.
Oh, yeah.
Apparently, one subsidiary, Mirzapur Ghazipur STPS Private Limited, just started generating revenue.
Interesting.
Seems like a pretty big deal.
Yeah, new revenue streams are always worth looking at.
Right. What are they focused on? How might that contribute to EMS's overall growth?
Definitely something to watch.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so we've got a company working on these essential infrastructure projects.
Mm-hmm.
They're showing growth, but maybe some wrinkles to smooth out.
Yeah.
So where do we go from here? What should we look at to understand their future?
Exactly. What are their prospects looking like?
Well, in the press release, the chairman, Mr. Ranveer Singh,
Yeah.
he sounds pretty optimistic. He points to their growing order book and the government's continued push for infrastructure.
Right, and he specifically mentions government projects as being a key driver.
He does. And we actually have a concrete example in the press release. A letter of award they recently got for a major project in Kolkata.
Okay, tell us more about that.
So their share of the project is valued at over 681 crore rupees.
Wow, that's significant.
Yeah, and there's a 15-year operation and maintenance component.
So they're in it for the long haul.
Exactly, not just a quick in and out.
It seems like EMS is really positioning themselves strategically to take advantage of this infrastructure boom in India.
Right.
But let's be real, it can't all be smooth sailing, right?
You're right. Every investment has risks.
Yeah.
The investor presentation actually acknowledges that the EPC sector is very competitive.
That makes sense.
Right. Everyone wants a piece of that pie.
Of course. So how is EMS standing out from the competition? How are they making sure they're the ones winning these contracts?
Well, it seems like they're taking a very proactive approach.
Okay.
They're constantly working to improve their pre-qualification credentials
I see.
to meet the strict requirements for these big projects.
So they're not just waiting around.
No, they're making sure they're ready.
I like that.
Yeah.
Shows ambition, but also, the pragmatic. And it's not just about winning the contracts, is it?
Right.
They need the people to actually carry out these projects.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
EMS really emphasizes attracting and retaining qualified personnel.
Okay.
They've got a team of 95 engineers, and they're investing in training and development, building a performance-driven culture.
So they understand that their people are their biggest asset.
Exactly.
And going back to that asset-light model, it means they lease a lot of their equipment,
Right.
which frees up capital and makes them more flexible.
It does.
Right.
It's a smart strategy, especially for projects of different sizes and complexities.
Yeah, for sure. But how does all this translate to an investor's bottom line?
That's the key question.
Right. That's what we want to know.
Yeah.
We've seen their strategy, their focus on growth, but are they profitable?
Wow.
Are they a good investment?
Their financials do show consistent profitability
Okay, that's good.
and a strong track record of growth.
Promising.
But the auditor's report did highlight one thing.
What's that?
They don't have complete financials for all of their subsidiaries and joint ventures yet.
So there's some missing information.
Yeah.
That's a bit of a red flag, isn't it?
It's something to be aware of.
Yeah.
Transparency is key.
Right.
And this lack of complete information makes it difficult to fully assess their financial health.
So it sounds like they've got a good story,
They do.
but they need to be more open.
More transparent.
Yeah, about the whole picture, even the less glamorous part.
Absolutely. They need to show they can manage this growth effectively,
Right.
especially as they take on these bigger, more complex projects.
Yeah, it's a balancing act.
It is between ambition and execution.
Exactly. They need to walk the walk, not just talk the talk.
You got it.
But with all these moving parts,
Right.
who's steering the ship? Is the leadership up to the task?
Well, from what we've gathered, Mr. Ramveer Singh, the chairman,
Yeah.
seems to have a clear vision for the future.
Okay.
But it's not a one-man show.
Yeah.
The management team, including experienced professionals like Mr. Ashish Tomar, the managing director and CFO,
Yeah.
they seem solid, capable.
They'll need all hands on deck to navigate this complex landscape.
Absolutely.
But are they just sticking to their current plan?
It's
Or are they looking to expand?
They do mention exploring new segments beyond their current focus,
Okay.
hinting at, a willingness to diversify and find fresh growth opportunities.
So they're not afraid to shake things up
Yeah.
and adapt.
Adapt to the changing market.
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay, but let's bring it back to our listener. We've covered a lot, from their business model to their financials and growth strategy. What's the key takeaway here? What should our listener walk away with?
I think the main point is that EMS Ltd is in a good position to benefit from India's infrastructure boom. They have a solid track record, a capable management team, and a clear strategic vision.
But like any investment, there are risks.
There are always risks.
Right. It's not a guaranteed home run.
Exactly. Our listener needs to do their own research,
Yeah.
dig into the financials, and really weigh the potential rewards against the potential downsides.
Don't just take our word for it.
Right.
Go explore.
Explore.
Check out EMS Ltd's investor relations website. See what analysts are saying.
Yeah.
Come to your own conclusions.
Investing is a journey,
It is.
not a destination.
The journey, not a destination.
And sometimes the most rewarding journeys are the ones where you chart your own course.
You blaze your own trail.
Exactly.
It's like we've given them a map and a compass,
Yeah.
but they get to choose the adventure.
Exactly.
But before we send them off on their own expedition, I have one final thought-provoking question for our listener to consider.
Okay, shoot.
We've talked a lot about EMS Ltd's financials and growth potential, but considering their focus on water infrastructure and the sheer scale of India's water challenges,
Right.
what kind of impact could their work have on the lives of everyday people?
That's a great question.
It's something to think about.
It is.
We're talking about potentially bringing safe drinking water to entire communities, improving sanitation,
Yeah.
even contributing to environmental sustainability.
Absolutely.
It's a powerful reminder that business can be a force for good,
It can.
tackling real-world problems while generating returns for investors.
It's a win-win.
It really is.
A win-win.
And for investors who care about social impact,
Yeah,
companies like EMS Ltd might be particularly appealing.
they might be.
Who knows, maybe this deep dive has sparked a whole new area of interest for our listener.
Maybe.
Maybe they'll start following the water sector.
Yeah,
Or maybe they'll dive deeper into India's infrastructure development plans.
that'd be great.
Whatever they choose.
Yeah.
I hope this deep dive has given them the knowledge and insights to make informed decisions.
I hope so too.
And maybe even see the world with a fresh perspective.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into EMS Ltd.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time,
Yeah.
keep learning,
Keep learning.
keep exploring,
Keep exploring.
and most importantly,
Yeah.
keep asking those thought-provoking questions.
Those are the best kinds.
So how major are we talking?
Oh, their share of the project is valued at over 681 crore rupees.
Wow.
Plus, there's a 15-year operation and maintenance part of it, so they'll be involved for a long time.
Not just a quick job.
No, not at all.
Okay, so it's a big project with long-term revenue potential.
Exactly.
It seems like they're in a great spot to ride this infrastructure wave in India.
Right.
But it can't all be sunshine and rainbows, can it?
Well, of course not.
What are some of the potential challenges for them?
Every investment has some risk.
Yeah, that's true.
And their investor presentation actually mentions that the EPC sector is really competitive.
Which makes sense.
Right. Lots of companies vying for these projects.
Of course, everyone wants a piece of the action.
Exactly.
So how does EMS differentiate themselves?
Right.
How do they make sure they're the ones winning these contracts?
Well, it seems like they're being very proactive.
Okay.
They're constantly working on improving their pre-qualification credentials, to meet the really tough requirements for these kinds of projects.
So they're not just sitting around waiting.
No, they're making sure they're prepared.
I like that.
Yeah, it shows they're ambitious.
And it's not just about winning the contracts, is it?
No, not at all.
They need the manpower to actually execute these projects successfully.
That's right. They need the people to do the work.
Yeah.
And EMS really emphasizes attracting and retaining those qualified personnel.
Okay, how do they do that?
Well, they've got this team of 95 engineers.
Wow, that's a lot.
And they're investing in training and development. They're trying to build a performance-driven culture.
So they know their people are their most valuable asset.
Exactly.
And, going back to that asset-light model we talked about,
Right?
they lease a lot of their equipment,
Right.
which frees up their capital.
Makes them more flexible.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a smart way to go, especially when you're dealing with all these different projects.
absolutely. But how does this translate to an investor's bottom line?
Yeah, that's the big question.
Right. We've seen their strategy, their focus on growth, but are they actually profitable?
Well, their financials do show consistent profitability
Okay, that's good.
and a strong history of growth.
Promising signs.
Yeah, but the auditor's report did point out one thing.
Oh, what's that?
They don't yet have complete financials for all of their subsidiaries
Okay.
and joint ventures.
So there's some information missing.
Yeah, there are some gaps.
Is that a red flag?
It's definitely something to consider.
Yeah.
Because transparency is so important for
Yeah.
investors. And without all the information, it's harder to assess their financial health.
Okay, so it sounds like they have a good story,
They do?
but they need to be more open,
Yeah.
more transparent about the full picture, even the not-so-great parts.
Right. They need to show they can handle this growth,
Yeah.
especially as they take on these larger, more complex projects.
It's a real balancing act.
It is.
Ambition and execution.
You got it.
They got to walk the walk, not just talk the talk.
Absolutely.
But with all these different elements in play,
Right.
who's leading the charge? Is the leadership team up to the task?
Well, from what we've seen, Mr. Veer Singh, the chairman,
Yeah.
seems to have a clear vision for the company.
Okay.
But it's not just him.
Right.
The management team includes some experienced professionals,
Like,
like Mr. Ashish Tomar, the managing director and CFO.
okay, yeah.
They seem solid, capable.
They'll need to be
Oh, absolutely.
to navigate this landscape in India.
Yeah.
But are they sticking to the same plan?
Well, this is interesting.
Or are they looking to expand?
They mention exploring new segments beyond their current focus areas,
Interesting.
which suggests they're willing to diversify,
Right.
find new avenues for growth.
So they're not afraid to change things up
Not at all.
and adapt to the market.
Exactly.
That's good.
It is. It shows they're thinking ahead.
All right, let's bring it back to our listener for a second.
Okay.
We've covered a lot of ground here,
We have.
from their business model to their financials, their growth strategy.
It's a lot to take in.
It is. So what's the key takeaway? What should our listener walk away with?
Well, I think the biggest takeaway is that EMS Ltd seems well positioned to benefit from India's infrastructure boom.
Okay.
They get a solid track record,
Mm-hmm.
a capable management team,
Yeah.
and a clear strategic vision.
But like with any investment, there are risks.
Of course, always risks.
Right. It's not a sure thing.
Our listener needs to do their own research,
Exactly.
dig into those financials, and weigh the potential rewards against the potential downsides.
Don't just take our word for it.
No.
Go explore.
Yeah, explore.
Check out their investor relations website.
See what the analysts are saying.
Form your own opinions.
Investing is a journey, not a destination.
It is.
And the best journeys are the ones where you chart your own course.
You make your own path.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like we've given them the tools, but they get to choose their own adventure.
Exactly.
So before we let them go off exploring on their own,
Okay.
I have one last question for our listeners to think about.
All right. Let's hear it.
We've spent a lot of time talking about EMS Ltd's financials, their growth potential, all that.
Yeah.
But given their focus on water infrastructure and the
Yeah.
huge scale of India's water challenges,
Right.
what kind of impact could their work actually have on people's lives?
That's a really good question to consider.
Like, think about it.
Yes,
We're
sir.
talking about bringing safe drinking water
Yeah.
to entire communities,
Yeah.
better sanitation,
Absolutely.
even helping the environment.
Right. The bigger picture.
Exactly. It's a reminder that businesses can do good,
They can.
solve real problems, and
Yeah.
still make money for investors.
It's that win-win we were talking about.
A win-win for everyone.
Exactly.
And for investors who care about social impact,
Yeah.
companies like EMS Ltd might be even more attractive.
It makes sense.
Who knows? Maybe this deep dive sparks something new for our listener.
Oh, maybe.
Maybe they'll start following the water sector. Maybe they'll look more into India's infrastructure plans.
It's a fascinating area.
Whatever they decide to do,
Yeah.
I hope this deep dive gave them the knowledge they need
Me too.
to make good decisions
Informed decision.
and maybe even see things from a new angle.
A fresh perspective.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into EMS Ltd.
It was great to be here.
Until next time,
Until next time,
keep learning, keep exploring,
keep those brains working.
and most importantly,
Yeah,
keep asking those thought-provoking questions.
absolutely. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.